Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody to the January 18th, 2023 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Law, notice of the within meeting as published in the Record, the Herald News, and the Clifton Journal, and the annual notice on December 28th, 2022. Copies of this agenda were mailed to the Record, the Herald News, and the Clifton Journal, and a copy of the agenda was filed with the City Clerk and posted on the main bulletin board in City Hall 5 days prior to the date of this meeting. On all applications listed on the agenda, formal action may be taken. The within announcement shall be incorporated in the minutes of this meeting. All applicants are hereby advised that the testimony taken before this board is being tape recorded. In the event that any applicant desires to take an appeal from the action of the board, a stenographic record of the proceedings is available and may be obtained through the office of the zoning officer upon payment of the required fee. Roll call, Ms. Morjesi.
Commissioner Jaskol.
Here.
Commissioner Silva.
Here.
Commissioner Gurkov.
Here.
Commissioner Soshan.
Here.
Commissioner Molnar.
Here.
Commissioner Fukas.
Here.
Vice Chairman Scoziello.
Here.
Chairman Zucchino.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Before I go over this evening's agenda, if you have any cell phones, please either turn them off or put them on vibrate. If you do need to take a call, if you would step outside the chambers, it would be greatly appreciated. When I say your name, just raise your hand, let me know you're here. Under remanded hearings, John Rader, 817-825 Clifton Avenue is continued without a date. Under continued hearings, 522 Valley Estates LLC, 522 Valley Road. It's actually continued to February 1st, but we received correspondence. Dear Ms. Bocato, as you're aware, this office represents the applicant in connection with the application of the above referenced property. This letter shall serve as a formal request that the application currently scheduled to be heard February 1st be carried to a regularly scheduled meeting of the zoning board on February 15th, 2023, with no further notice to public necessary. The applicant consents to an extension of time required by the board to hear and decide the application through March 31st. Very truly yours, Jason Tuval. Ms. Bocato, is there any issue with carrying 522 to February 15th?
No, there's no issue.
Okay, so that will be carried to 522, to February 15th. Walbury Properties LLC, 719 Walnut Street. We received correspondence on that. Leanna, please reschedule the hearing for February 15th and kindly confirm we are scheduled for that date. Thank you, Gary Cohen. Ms. Bocato, is any issue to make that one also February 15th, 23?
That's fine.
That's fine? So anybody here for that application will hear that February 15th, 2023. EMB 561 LLC, 561 Clifton Avenue. Received a correspondence on that also. Dear Leanna, unfortunately, Mr. Rigg was unable to have the site plan completed for our scheduled January 18th meeting. Could we please reschedule for February 15th, 2023? We will be sure to have everything submitted for your review by February 1st. Thank you again, Anita Bonison. So, Ms. Bocato, 561 Van Houten Avenue, can we carry that to February 15th, 2023?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here for that application? Carry till February 15th. 833 Clifton Avenue Partners, LLC, 833 Clifton Avenue. Received a correspondence on that also. As you're aware, the undersigned represents the above referenced applicant who has a hearing scheduled for the evening of January 18th before the Clifton Board of Adjustment. Unfortunately, one of my experts will not be available to testify on that evening, and I would therefore respectfully request that the matter be adjourned to the evening of February 15th, 2023. Thanking the board for its courtesies has always been extended to me. I remain respectfully yours, Glenn Peterson. So we will move that application to February 15th, 2023 also. So anybody here, any interested party for that application, we'll hear it February 15th, 2023. Mark Lasky, 822 Passaic Avenue. We just received a correspondence on that at, I believe, 2:15 this afternoon. Dear Ms. Bocato, as you're aware, this office represents Mark Lasky in the above matter, which is the subject of a variance hearing tonight. Please be advised our planner is unavailable. We respectfully request that the matter be carried to the February 1st, 2023. Kindly announce the same of record. So can we move that to February 1st?
Yes.
So anyone here for that application, 822 Passaic Avenue, will hear that February 1st. Under new hearings, Ali Musa, 11 Lennon Place. Thank you. Well and Zind, 636 Van Houten. Thank you. And the 580 Group LLC, 790 Bloomfield Avenue. Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the first new hearing. Ali Musa, 11 Lennon Place, please come forward. Any interested parties to this application? You won't be able to show up? I'm not so sure, but I may not be able to show up. Okay. So you're not sure if you're not going to be able to show up or not? You're not sure? Okay. The only thing I ask is this, and if you're sure that you won't be able to show up, you can send a letter to Ms. Bocato, and then we can see if we can have him move the date. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, again, any interested parties to this application, please come forward. Seeing none, if you could hit the button on the bottom, it'll light up green, and state your name and address for the record, please.
Ali Musa.
I'm sorry? Say it again. Bring the mic up to you a little. There you go.
Ali Musa.
And your address?
11 Lennon Place, Clifton, New Jersey, 07013.
Okay, and sir?
Adam Al-Sajaya, 71 Jackson Street, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay, if you can please stand, Ms. Morjesi will swear you in. If you can please stand.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Please be seated. Okay, tell us what you'd like to do.
So essentially, Ali bought his home with an addition already to the back. It encroaches about 3 feet into the rear yard setback. And so he has a problem in one of his bedrooms on the second floor where the ceiling height is below 7 feet. And so he would like to design a new roof to essentially raise the ceiling height to a more comfortable height. So it's not less than 7 feet. Now the new height will be 9 feet, which is a nice size height for a bedroom. And in doing that, he's already doing the work. He would like to add a door to come out onto a balcony on top of that addition in his backyard.
Okay, so basically, the only variance you're looking for is a rear yard setback proposed at 30 where 35 is required, correct, Ms. Bocato? Is that the only variance he's looking for?
35 is required. We're at 31, I believe.
Oh. Sorry, she just came back in. That's okay. His only variance that he's looking for is the rear yard setback at 30 instead of 35? Is that the only one? Okay. Any questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Sochan?
are you going up on the straight footprint of the house that's existing?
Yeah.
You just putting second floor?
Yes, we're basically just, readjusting the roof design and then just creating a balcony on top of an existing footprint.
But no, you're not increasing the footprint?
We're not increasing bulk of height, yeah.
And the only reason why you have your 30 feet is because of the deck?
Yes. Well, he bought the house with an existing addition that happened, and that balcony is just going on top of that single-story addition.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Do you have a business card that I can use for the purposes of the minutes, and that you could write your name or anything?
Not on me, no.
We can get him.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? Not, pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Foukas.
if there aren't any further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application. It's de minimis what you're seeking, 5 feet. And like I said, it's Bricks Architects did a nice job, because expanding a split level is very hard and making it look nice.
Thank you.
It really looks nice.
Thank you. So I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Fukas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Silva. Roll call, Mr. Pogarelli. Sorry, Ms. Borghese. I knew I'd do that.
Commissioner Jasko.
Oh, he's not.
Okay.
That's right, you're right.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes to approve.
Commissioner Gurkov.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
There's no objectors here. Yes to approve.
Commissioner Fukas. Yes. Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zakino.
Yes.
With 7 affirmative votes, the motion carries and the application is granted.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next application, Well and Zind, 636 Van Houten Avenue. Please come forward. Any interested parties to this application, please come forward. Again, any interested parties to this application, please come forward. Seeing none, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
YL Olsend, 16 Trella Terrace, Clifton, New Jersey, 07013.
All right, if you can please stand. Ms. Morgese will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please be seated. Okay, sir, tell us what you'd like to do.
Yeah, so I was here previously. I applied for a variance, initial set.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I was here in a previous session, and I applied for a variance to get approval on the setback and the sides, and it was approved, and there was some advice from, I believe, Commissioner Fukas said to potentially look into putting a basement. I took that advice from that time. I sat with my architect and we built the detailed plans, and we want to make some amendments in this round to allow for 3 windows on a second level, and also exit doors for fire exits.
So I understand this correctly. You were here in front of us a while back. You asked for a 1-story addition in the back for storage, correct?
For storage, correct.
Right, okay.
And the use
So-
stays the same.
Yeah, and we approved it.
Correct.
Okay. And the size of that addition, do you remember what the size was?
I believe roughly, it was about 50 back and 23 width, so 50 by 23 roughly.
Okay. Now, the new addition that you're looking to come back now, you want to put a 2-story addition, correct?
It is a second, it's a second level. It's a basement with a second level, or it's a slab. Right now, we got the footings and the foundation.
Right.
And obviously, to use effective use of space for shelving, I can go 8 feet on the shelves, and I need a second level to continue because I have heights of 26 feet, or 23 feet.
So you want to put a basement in plus a second floor?
A second level, yes.
Okay, and you only want to use this for storage?
Exactly.
So when you came in front of us before, how come you didn't think about how much storage you needed then?
I mean, I know I needed storage, and again, I'm green in this whole process with filing for variances and everything, but when I sat down with the architect, I wanted to initially see if I can get approval for the setbacks that I'm asking for. But now with the detailed plan, and I sitting down with a professional architect, he gave me ideas, plus, like I said, what Commissioner Focus mentioned last time was, why not have a basement? So I took the ideas, and I wanted to leverage it.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Commissioner Jaskell?
Is this extension already built?
The footing and the foundation slab, that's all that's built so far. With the income I have to do the building in phases. So I did the I told the building department that I would like to submit for the permits just to do phase it one at a time. So they gave me the approval to get the footing and foundation. We got the inspections done, it's all ready. When I came down to do the framing part, the zoning officer said, well, you only was approved for just one box, one level, but I see you have doors, windows, and you're putting a second level. So I said, fine, what do I do? They asked me to submit for an amendment. I worked with the zoning department, and I filed the paperwork for that.
So you have the foundations and the footings, the foundations, and you said the slab? You already have the slab poured or no?
All that's done, yes. I have all the inspection approvals for that as well.
So the slab is done. So what about when you're putting the basement in?
Well, it's a slab. So the first level, the slab is the basement, because if you look at the backyard, it's slanted. So the level of my store is about 4 feet high from the backyard. So that's basically my basement ground level. So going with the second level will be up here 8 feet high, and then that second level I'll use for storage as well.
Right, but when you're saying basement, then the basement's only like you have a crawl space, it's like 4 feet high.
No, it's 8.
It's 8 feet, you dug down.
We didn't dug, the backyard is low to begin with, so it shows that it's 4 feet. So I'm not, the second level is not going same level with the store. You got to go a couple of steps to go to it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Any other questions from the board? If not, pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Molnar.
I'd like to make a motion to deny this application. It was previously approved for a one-story addition. This is just an overuse of a non-conforming.
Okay, I have a motion to be denied by Commissioner Molnar. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Vice Chairman Scorziello. Roll call, Ms. Morgese.
This is a motion to deny the application at hand. Commissioner Silva.
No. No to denied.
Commissioner Gurkov.
No to deny.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes to deny.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas. Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zucchino.
Yeah, I just think it's a little bit more of an overuse. I didn't have no problem with the one-story addition for you to get storage because you need it, but I just think it's an overuse of this property over there. It's very small over there, so yes to deny.
We have 4 affirmative votes and the motion.
Sorry, sir.
So is my initial variance?
That's correct.
That's the only way I can build. I can't appeal that, or?
You can appeal it.
Okay.
Ms. Bocato will explain how you appeal it, if you want to appeal it,
Okay, very good. Thank you.
okay? Have a good evening.
I was on the fence on that one.
Okay, next application, the 580 Group LLC, 790 Bloomfield Avenue, please come forward. Any interested parties to this application, please come forward. Again, any interested parties to this application, please come forward. Seeing none, appearance of counsel for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. Jennifer Berardo of the firm Wells, Jaworski, and Liebman on behalf of the applicant, the 580 Group, LLC.
Okay, and how many witnesses do you have testifying this evening?
4.
4?
Correct.
Okay, so obviously they're all not here yet, correct?
They are not. We were expecting a little bit of a heavier agenda, and I apologize, but they should all be on their way.
That's fine,
So-
we'll start one at a time. We usually swear everybody in, but we'll do it one at a time, not a
Okay.
problem.
Thank you very much.
So if you want to start your first one, and I'll have Ms. Morgese swear him in, and we'll go from there.
Sure. If I can just give you
Sure.
a little bit of a background. The 580 Group LLC is the owner of property located at 790 Bloomfield Avenue, which is also known as Block 56.07, lots 15, 15.01 through 15.06, and 23. The applicant here is the owner of the property, which presently maintains industrial warehouse and office buildings, along with one residential unit on the property, and they're seeking to install an addition on the property, a 14,578 square foot warehouse addition with 3 overhead doors to accompany the rest of the complex on the building. The property is located within the M2 General Industry District, in which warehouse buildings are a permitted conditional use, and there are certain existing nonconformities which exist on the site, which will continue to remain throughout this application.
So if you feel so comfortable, please, you can sit.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So today, for my first witness, I have Mr. Jeff Cupo, who is part owner of the property and will provide us with some operational testimony as well as some existing site conditions.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please, I'll have Ms. Morgese swear you in.
Jeffrey Cupo, 10 Highland Drive, North Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006. CUPO.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter, pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Please be seated.
Thank you. Mr. Cupo, could you please provide the board with your existing position with the company in relationship to the site?
I'm the managing member of the 580 Group.
And what are your duties and responsibilities?
I'm responsible for all the activities and everything that has to do with the property associated, from financial to picking up the garbage.
Okay.
Can you move the mic a little closer to you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Could you please describe for the board, when did you first purchase the property?
1985.
Okay, and you've been working with the property since that time?
I have.
Okay. And could you please describe for the board the existing uses on site presently?
So we have a small office building up front that has mostly small contractors in it that use it for their office. And they have another small space on the property someplace that they store their equipment in or whatever. We have a lot of light industrial manufacturing. They make gutters, we make cabinets, they make iron pipe for sprinkler systems there. And they even have what they call is a packaging company, which basically takes items from all over the place and packages it in one little box and then ships it out to sell it for a different price. The last tenant is the frozen foods, and he delivers shrimp and lobster to all the restaurants in the neighborhood and area.
Okay, and there's also one residential apartment on the property, is that correct?
Well, it's not really an apartment. It's that's an employee of us that actually works for us, and his responsibility at night is to just make sure if something happens that he notifies the police that we have somebody on the property.
And he's actually been there for several years,
Oh, he's been there more than 2 decades.
more than 2 decades. Okay, thank you. Could you describe the proposed conditions for the property and the need for the additional warehouse?
So today, it's pretty hard. You got to keep tenants, and as tenants grow, they need more space. And I have a double block situation in the building back there. I have the millwork company, who is in a very small space of about 3,000 square feet. They need the 15,000 square foot building. The space that they're sharing now with the landlord and a contractor, the contractor needs the space that he's in. So in order for me to keep everybody, I have that empty lot in the back, and I'd like to construct that building to house the cabinet company that's already on site over there. I'm not actually going to have any more tenants at the end of this, but I'm going to have two much larger tenants.
And could you provide us with the hours of operation generally for most of the tenants now?
Our property is usually dead silent by 5 p.m. It probably gets going in the morning sometime around 6 a.m. The weekends, Saturday is very slow, and it's only got any traffic at all until about 11 o'clock. After that, it's empty. On Sunday, it's also empty.
And as you mentioned, the new space is intended to be utilized by an existing tenant.
That's correct.
And you don't see any necessary impact or difference to the existing site function?
No, I think that I think everybody understands when a cabinet company grows, they buy these large CNC machines. They look like giant air tables that they slide cabinets around and boxes on. So most of the area that we're looking at is going to be taken up by 4 or 5 of these machines that'll communicate the cabinetry.
Mr. Cupo, can you just keep the microphone? I know you like use your hand, but I can't hear you.
I apologize, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And as the site exists today, do you have any special services or special needs for trash pickup? Can you just describe for the board what that's like?
The tenants all take care of their own trash pickup. Most of our tenants keep their trash inside their building because today we still live in a day and age where if somebody has something to throw away, they don't care where they throw it away as long as it's not in their dumpster. So a lot of everybody keeps it in there. We supply one main dumpster for the A building, office building up front, and that sits outside of the second building in on a concrete pad against our building.
Okay. And I know each tenant has their own specific use, but generally, what are the deliveries like
So
on a daily basis?
Yeah, deliveries are all basically box truck size vehicles. The most common truck there is probably a 33-foot truck. About once a week, 3 tenants get one 53-foot truck that comes in. One of them delivers rolled aluminum, the other one delivers wood for the millworking shop, and the other one delivers the frozen fish. The frozen fish guy comes at 3 a.m. in the morning sometimes, and sits there until 5 when they're 6 when they open up to get unloaded. But beyond that, those are the only type of heavy trucks we get in that parking lot.
Okay. And some of the buildings on site are already equipped with solar panels, is that correct? And some,
We already possess about a megawatt of solar panels on that building. The new building will be built to take on solar panels as well.
and does the new building require any special equipment to be installed?
The new building does not require any special equipment to be installed except the power part, which is only consumption-based.
Okay. And is it your opinion that it is a necessary growth in order for the site to continue, maintain, and operate its current tenants and future tenants?
Again, for me, it's very important to keep good tenants. You know, I keep tenants for 10 years and they turn into 30-year tenants. It's better for everybody. So I'm trying to do everything I can to keep my tenants. That's really what I'm at. If I can't do it, I'm going to lose them both.
And do you have any final comments for the board?
No, I just, I keep the property in very good condition. I'm always respectful to my neighbors. Anytime I have an issue, if anything like that, we communicate. We don't get into disagreements about anything. I haven't physically had a neighbor that I haven't talked to there in, 3 or 4 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's somebody that we say hello to each other and everything like that. My site has been functioning in the way it is for well beyond me. Anybody that knows the history, that was Mahoney Trost was there originally. They were manufacturing wood truss joists and stuff like that. So it's always been what it is, except I got a little bit smaller tenants than Mahoney Trost.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions of Mr. Kupa.
Any questions from the board?
I don't have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fukas.
I just got to say, you got to take Mr. Coop at his word. His previous tenant, Mr. Gassion, God rest his soul, when he had the warehouse in the back years ago, things were tight and you lowered the rent to keep him there.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Fuca, I'm sorry.
I remember Gassion, when he was there, you lowered the rent to keep him there. So,
Yeah.
you know, you work with the,
Frank was
You
in
don't
G
find
building
many
back
people like
there.
that, yeah.
That's true.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none?
Thank you. Now, I would like to call, thanks, Mr. Trevor Curtis of L2A Land Design to provide us with some civil engineering testimony.
Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Trevor Curtis, 66 Grand Avenue, second floor, Englewood, New Jersey.
Great. Ms. Morgese, can you swear him in, please?
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Maybe you want to qualify yourself?
Mr. Curtis, could you please provide the board with the benefit of your background and experience and education?
Sure. So currently, I'm a senior project manager at L2A Land Design, a civil land development firm. I graduated from Rutgers University with bachelor's in science and civil engineering, 2013. I've had my professional engineering license in the state of New Jersey for the last 5 years, and I testify regularly in the state of New Jersey and have previously testified in front of this board a couple years ago.
And are all of your licenses in good standing?
Yes.
Okay, we'll accept his qualifications.
Thank you very much. Mr. Curtis, could you please provide the board with what you have prepared and reviewed in preparation of the application?
Sure. So I'm putting up the civil site plans which were submitted as part of this application, dated 8/23/2022.
And just for the benefit of the board, have you visited the site?
Yes,
And did you help in the preparation of the application?
yes,
And have you prepared some exhibits for the board as well?
yes.
Okay.
So I'll bring up a few exhibits, but just to get into it, I think Ms. Berardo explained the property and the general location. We are proposing a warehouse building addition at 790 Bloomfield Avenue, designated as Block 56.07, Lot 15, 15.01 through 15.06, and 23.01. The property is currently in the M2 General Industrial Zone. This is sheet CO2, overall existing conditions plan, just to give the lay of the land. The property fronts along Bloomfield Avenue and has access on multiple sides of the site, the eastern and western portions of the site, along Somerset Place and Atlantic Way, which is a private right-of-way. The existing portion of the site that's being redeveloped is the northwestern corner of the site, which currently it's demoed. There's asphalt or compacted gravel and asphalt areas, generally sloping towards the east with very minor grade change. The existing area is between two existing commercial industrial buildings, and I think it would be beneficial to bring up my first exhibit to kind of highlight where the buildings are and the existing asphalt areas. So this is sheet CO4 overall site plan, which is just a colorized version of the site plan to better help facilitate what we're looking at. I have my pen.
And if we could, yes, mark it as Exhibit A1.
So marked.
Thank you.
Okay, so the existing buildings are shown in a light brown color, where the proposed building location is shown in a kind of darker brown color, just to highlight where exactly on the property we are and the associated improvements. So as I said, the existing area is mainly compacted gravel and broken up asphalt. So essentially, we are converting the impervious area to another type of impervious roof runoff. The areas around the building will probably be some sort of gravel to assist with maintenance. It's the hard-to-get-to areas. Like I said, all traffic comes through Bloomfield Avenue, and there is a second access point on Somerset Place, and the building at the western corner can be accessed via Atlantic Way, a private right-of-way, which is just west of the entrance to the site. I indicated on the plan that the buildings do have letter indicators. The building would be located between building H, C, and G, and as part of G, connected to G. So if I refer to a letter indicator, that I'll bring it back up so I can kind of show you where on the plan I'm talking about rather than a general location. See? So the building, sorry, I can't read. The building consists of 14,578 square feet. So we ran the parking calculations, and I'll grab my notes. And the overall subject property requires 159 spaces, and this includes a mixture of office and industrial warehouse uses throughout the site. The project existing had 138 spaces, and we're proposing 150, so it's deficient by 9 spaces as per this table. We are repainting areas within the site. We're restriping areas to improve and make more efficient the spaces. However, the spaces do result in a 9x18 dimension, whereas 9x19 is required, so we're requesting the variance for that. Overall, the site, minimal improvements other than the improvement area. Asphalt areas will generally remain the same with the exception of minor striping. And I would like to note that we are in discussions with the county, since it's a county road, Bloomfield Avenue, to make minor adjustments to the driveway entrance. So additional minor improvements to the driveway might be included in any resubmitted application. Currently, the property consists of approximately 5.581 acres, and there are existing nonconformities and some new variances, and I'll briefly go through those. And I may repeat myself on ones that I previously mentioned, but we do have planning testimony to go through the more intense use variance requirements, and the zoning ordinance is a little back and forth. But in general, the minimum rear yard setback for this zone is 15 feet required, and we have 2.28 feet existing and proposed, so it's an existing nonconformity. Minimum side yard setback, 15 feet required. We have 0.00 feet existing and proposed. That is an existing nonconformity. Again, minimum required off-street parking is 159 spaces, 150 are proposed, and that is a variance. Minimum parking setback from the lot line, 5 feet is required, and we have 4.5 feet existing and proposed, which is an existing nonconformity. As I mentioned before, minimum parking space dimensions, 9x19 required, and 9x18 are proposed, and this would be considered variance. Minimum landscaping for off-street parking areas over 10,000 square feet, which we are proposing no change to the existing site. That'd be considered a variance. Minimum distance of conditional use truck terminals to residential zone. So I'd like to note that we are currently 60.06 existing and proposed feet to the residential zone, which is across the railroad on the opposite side. So we're noting that, and that's part of the conditional use requirements and would be a variance. And then we also noted prior during Mr. Cupo's testimony that there's a dwelling quarters for a watchman, and the planner will go in depth into these variances. So I'm going to go back to the plan set. That was submitted as part of the application, and I'll briefly go over the remainder of the plans. For grading and drainage, essentially, the goal was to connect the building to the existing building and minor grade changes matching the existing grades around the building. Nothing significant in terms of soil movement and grading operations. We are providing a stormwater detention system just east in front of the proposed building, and the general idea was to mitigate any impacts of runoff throughout the property because it's all interconnected. But in general, we are just swapping one impervious surface for another. There really is no increase in impervious. This is just an additional measure after discussions with the client to add some more volume for water to be detained prior to discharging off the property. There are multiple other stormwater measures throughout the property. However, only this basin was provided as part of this application. Utilities will be provided from the adjacent buildings. Fire, water lines, the building will be sprinklered. Sanitary discharges to the south after a thorough investigation on where the sanitary goes, and it was mentioned in the engineering letter about an existing sanitary manhole. The plans currently show the sanitary line going north, but the line actually goes south to a clean out in front of Building H, which, if you recall, is the building immediately south of the proposed improvements. And I'll quickly go to the lighting plan. And the current lighting design proposes all wall-mounted fixtures. The entire property is lit by PSE&G light fixtures on utility poles throughout the site, which the client pays for and has an agreement with PSE&G. Any engineering comments would be addressed in any subsequent resubmission of the plans. Minor comments on glare on the southwest corner of the property at the property line. So in general, not a lot of civil work, but the property essentially functions and has been functioning for the last 70 years, so minimal changes, only to make this more efficient, as Mr. Krupo said. But in general, that's all I have.
Just a few follow-up questions. Could you just please note and indicate for the board the location of the proposed overhead doors?
Sure. There are 3 overhead doors, and the building would be raised 4 feet out of the ground for a loading dock, a typical loading dock, 48 inches tall. And these loading doors sit on the eastern face of the proposed building. There's 3 doors.
And could you please advise as to the ADA accessibility of
Sure.
the new proposed building?
Sure. So the only existing building, I'll say this, the only existing building on the site that does not have an ADA access entrance is Building C, while the remaining buildings do have ADA access. And I personally visited the site to make sure that these entrances visually looked ADA accessible. So Building A, B, H, G, E, and D are all ADA accessible. And there are currently 3 ADA spaces located right in front of Building A.
And you've been to the site now a few times, correct?
I have my team, yes, I have my team go there. I have site photos, and I just previously went there to double check a few things as well.
Okay, and during any of these visits, have you noticed any issues with the parking or circulation or use of the site?
No, and it's a well-operated site. It's very organized, and truck traffic is generally from what I told, I didn't personally witness off hours, but when I was there before the hearing, there was one truck moving in and out of the site. But other than that, there was no issues of parking. And as I'm told, that the parking is more than sufficient based on what the use of the property is.
And is there any landscaping proposed?
So no new landscaping other than improvements to the street trees within the right-of-way along Bloomfield. So we're working with the county, and we do have a meeting set up with them tomorrow to discuss more about the type of landscaping and the orientation of the driveway. I'd like to note that the existing tree is heaving the sidewalk along Bloomfield, so we are proposing to replace that and possibly add another. So it's in discussions with the county. But other than that, any landscaping around the new proposed building would be very difficult to get to. So I'm showing it as gravel area just for maintenance purposes. I don't think you could get a lawnmower around there. And in general, the entire site is industrial. With the exception of a few existing grassed areas and trees within the parking lot, that's the general story on landscaping.
Okay, and can you just identify on the exhibit the location of the existing railroad?
Sure. The existing railroad runs along the western portion of the property. The back of the building would be the railroad. And that separates essentially a hole in the building facade line along the railroad and the 60-foot residential zone across the other side. I'd also like to note, which was previously mentioned, the site is surrounded by industrial and commercial. There's a convenience store right next door, and the residential would be on the opposite side.
Okay.
So it is in keeping with the uses in the area.
Okay, and you've made the submission to the county already. You said you have a meeting tomorrow to further discuss.
Right, so we have made the submission to the county. We've been in discussions with them for a couple weeks. We've also submitted to soil erosion, and we had two minor comments, one regarding the tracking pad, and one regarding stormwater, which I don't think I mentioned, but it was noted in the engineering letter. The actual improvements do not result in a major development, and we're not increasing regulated motor vehicle services. So essentially, this is not a major development, which would not be subject to New Jersey stormwater management regulations. So we've discussed that with soil erosion, and we anticipate a permit within the next week or so.
Okay, and we've received 2 reports from the city's professionals.
Yes, I've reviewed Mr. Graviano's report and Neglia's report.
And do you see any concerns with addressing all of the comments that have been raised in those reports?
No, and one note on the planner's end, I did have a discussion with Mr. Graviano. An additional use variance was shown on the letter, and in my opinion and research on Google Maps and NJ GeoWeb, the site is not located within a half a mile of a park or school on Bloomfield Avenue. I just wanted to note that prior to any planning testimony. I did have a conversation, and I think that use variance is not applicable.
Mr. Graviano?
Yes, my letter called out a D3 variance, part of the prongs for the warehouse use in the M2 district. I do agree with Mr. Curtis. While there is a park within a half mile of this proposed site, it's not on the same street, so that D3 variance for that item is not required.
Thank you.
And regarding Neglia's letter, I have no issues complying with the comments outlined in the letter.
So would you agree with everything Neglia said in their
Yes.
report?
Mm-hmm.
One thing, actually, we did not address that was in the Neglia report was the EV requirement.
So I know we went through this, and EV parking requirements are not very clear for industrial facilities. It It's our opinion that this is slightly amended application where no EV spaces would be required, nor are they needed at this time. So it's my opinion that we're not going to propose to put them in unless otherwise required by the board. Again, this is a site that's been functioning, and I know that EV spaces are a hot topic in New Jersey now, but the client doesn't see an absolute need for it. However, if the board sees otherwise, that it's required, then they would provide, I believe, 1 space would be required. We are adding 12 spaces to the site through reorganizing parking areas. So I think 1 space would be required under the law if we're required to construct that space.
And it's your understanding, though, that's required for new developments, not necessarily an existing site?
Right, right.
Okay. And do you have any other comments regarding the site, its existing and proposed use, or any site concerns?
No, I think Mr. Cupo outlined it bluntly. I mean, the existing tenant in Building G is in need of more efficiency, and that requires larger machines, which requires more space. So essentially, we're not increasing traffic or trip generations. We're just adding space for them to be more efficient, and it's not anticipated that this would generate a large increase in truck traffic. As we said, the larger trucks that traverse the site come in off hours, and they're infrequent, maybe once a week, as Mr. Cupo, once or twice a week that Mr. Cupo testified to.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions of this witness.
I have a question for you. The circulation of the trucks, how are they going to go in the back there? Are
So-
they going to back up, or how are they going to work?
I brought an exhibit. Surprisingly, I mean, there are tractor trailers out there. They are doing it, and to be honest, these vehicles make better turning movements than my program can. So I essentially drew in blue the truck coming in and making a K-turn at the access towards Somerset Place, and they back up in. And that's what I'm told is what they generally do. The red is a fire truck, and I reached out to the fire official who didn't get back to me, so I picked the biggest truck that I could find in my program, which is about 48 feet, 47 and a half feet, and it's easily traversing these areas. And it can make a turn in this area even with cars parked. Like I said, the building will be sprinklered anyway, but it is a good question. How are these trucks getting in there? And they do. And the program is showing me that I can make that K-turn. They basically go up towards Somerset Place, and then they back in. But again, they are infrequent. This is not occurring all day, every day. But these guys are really good. I'm sure you're aware you've seen this before.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Kirkhoff.
the fire truck also is going to do a back into there?
No, the fire truck, if it gets back towards this building, it will pull up, around, and then it will back up. A little K-turn back out of the site. So there is no exit from where the proposed building is. I guess exit onto another right-of-way. So there is a turnaround maneuver. The truck would have to back up and jackknife around the corner. It makes the turn easily around building, we call this building C. It makes that turn very easily, but the turnaround maneuver within this area for a larger truck is not feasible, so they back up in this area over here, and they come back around and back into it. These smaller box trucks, which are much more frequent than the larger trucks, can easily make these turns. And I mentioned before that I saw a truck tonight, slightly larger than a box truck, maybe a 40-footer, and it was easily turning around in this area with no obstructions. So it really is only the trucks that exceed 50 feet, and I'm using a 53-foot truck. I may have mentioned on my plans a 63-foot truck, but client has further told me that a 63-foot truck is not likely, so a 53-footer is shown on the plan. This plan. It's an exhibit that I'll mark this because this was not submitted.
I'll
mark it as
A2,
A2.
turning radiuses for the truck, I would assume.
Yes. This plan is called EX01 Truck Turning Exhibit. And it was noted in Neglia's letter to provide this as part of the plan set on any subsequent resubmission, so we would.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jaskell?
You mentioned earlier that there's an access point on this side of the building?
Well, this is a private right-of-way. It's designated as Atlantic Way, but you actually can't get to the building. You can only get to Building H, and
So until this point, I just want to understand the shift in traffic. Until this point, the trucks have not been making a U and just going in one way and coming out? They've been doing this back up the whole time?
yeah, yes, for 70-something years.
Okay, so
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Molnar?
Sir, I don't know if this is for you or the architect. Are there rooftop units for this building?
I can testify to
All right,
yeah, yeah.
I'll ask the architect on this. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Curris, any comments?
Just in addition to our report, you also got the report from Passaic County Engineering. You have all intentions of satisfying their comments for the striping at the driveway and everything that they need. You have to comply with as well.
Yeah, right. So we do have a meeting with them, or they have their meeting tomorrow, and we're invited to discuss the comments prior to resubmission. We do have a request that we are going to slightly widen the driveway, which is very restrictive for larger trucks right now. Not that it doesn't work, but it would be more efficient. So that's the discussion since it's their jurisdiction. Essentially, all the other comments will be complied with to the extent that they're required, I guess. We are going to have discussions on existing stormwater on the street and on the property and all that. But any resubmission would be provided to Neglia along with the plans that have been updated and point-by-point response letters, all that.
And as long as he's complying with the comments of your report, I don't see an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, thank you. No further questions? Yes,
No further questions, thank you.
we're done with him.
Thank you. I'd like to call next our architect, Mr. John Buchholz of Buchholz Architects.
You can state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure, John Buchholz.
If you could speak into the mic, please.
Sure, John Buchholz, B-U-C-H-H-O-L-Z. I'm at 123 Columbia Turnpike in Florham Park, New Jersey.
Ms. Morjesi will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Buchholz, could you please provide the board with the benefit of your background, education, and experience?
Sure. I went to Pratt and graduated in 1979, Bachelor of Architecture. I've been a licensed architect in New Jersey for 40 years. I've been the president of Buchholz Architects for 37 years. I've appeared before well over 150 boards throughout the state. I have not appeared before this board, so I'm happy to put another board on the agenda.
And is your license still valid right now?
My licenses are up to date.
We'll accept your qualifications.
Thank you.
Mr. Buchholz, could you please advise what your duties and responsibilities were with respect to this application?
We worked with the owner of the property, and as you've heard testimony, this piece is the last piece of the puzzle for a site that's been developed. So we worked with the developer to size this building within the site to provide him the expansion that he requires. So we're showing the new building.
Okay, thank you. Could you please review the proposed building, its dimensions, materials, colors, designs?
Sure. The building, as stated before, is 14,578 square feet. This building, because of the railroad and the existing buildings, we had to carve this building in and out and provide the indentation so that the building had the practicality of loading, the ability for moving cars around the site, and providing pedestrian traffic through here. So this is the last of this larger site. So it rides with the property lines across here and then set back so that it becomes useful for the use that it's intended for. The building will have a 22-foot high clear interior height to the bottom of joists. The top of the building will be 26.47 feet from average grade, because there is some change in the grade. It will have these 3 entrances. There could be 3, it could be broken down into 3 areas. It has the 3 doors, as heard before. They're separated through here, so each indentation will take the trucks in, and you can bring product into the building. We don't know what the interior fit-up is at this time, but it is a concrete building. This is an industrial site. It'll be concrete block with roof joists across this, with a flat roof. We will have HVAC units. There are planned to be 3 5-ton units here. They'll be high efficiency and quiet units. Everything has gotten quieter, more efficient, and energy efficient. Other than that, one of the items that have been in both reports was looking to do something with the colors. This building is intended to be painted green, as is the rest of the buildings. So when this is built, it becomes part of the complex. I'm not sure what we would do. This is not seen from the street. The engineer's drawings, it is buried in the back of the complex. So this orange building, Building C, completely blocks when the street is up here and over here. We are completely, you wouldn't even know if you were driving by that this building existed. So if the board felt as though we should provide some colors to change up the building, we'd be happy to do it, but it really is not seen. I mean, we've talked about the 3-point turn to get back here and around. So this building blocks the visual here. And then this green is here. This would continue the continuity of the color of the building. So it'd ride around just as the rest of the complex is that way. So to answer the question, we are just planning on colorizing it the way it is now. The building itself undulates in and out, so it has, if you were looking from here, it has some lines that you see differently. That's just a straight wall. But I don't think anyone's driving down here to look at we're not getting awards on this building. It's pretty much, it's meant to be what it wants to do, is serve as an industrial building and provide trucking.
And is there any proposed signage at this time?
I'm sorry?
Is there any proposed signage at this time?
The only thing that would be on here might be the name of the building. A lot of times, the loading docks will have a 1, 2, and 3, so a trucker might be told to pull up to building. I forget the number of this one. The letter of the building. You might have a 1, 2, and 3. So if someone has said they got to go to building J, they will go to door 3. So they really
And the applicant would comply with the
if there's,
city's
yes,
requirements?
whatever signage would be put on the building will abide by the rules of the signage ordinance.
Are there any other architectural design features that you want to highlight for the board?
No, I think that's it. I mean, it's really meant to be a very much to fit in with the site. It's matching some of the heights that are in here. It's meant to be as tight as it can be, and it's not an extremely tall building. We're usually doing 48 height ceilings in these new industrial buildings. So this is really very carefully put in place here. It's low profile, and I don't think it's going to have an impact anywhere in the neighborhood.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Molnar.
I agree this building's not going to be seen from Bloomfield Avenue, but my concern are the residents behind. I see you have minimal windows on the backside, and they're high, which is very good for sound. My concern is where the rooftop units are going to be placed, and is there going to be any additional noise screening? And you're saying it's a millwork shop. Will there be a vacuum system, and where would that be placed?
The vacuum systems are always inside the building.
Inside the building?
They're
That's
inside.
terrific.
And we do have a railroad track.
I understand, but you also have residents
No,
behind.
and I
We
understand
have
what you're saying.
issues in the area with other buildings that are having noise problems.
Within this site, and this is 60 feet across here, and then there's space across here. So we're probably close to, and if these units are put towards the front, which is more where the offices are.
That's
So
what I would like to
we're-
hear,
we're
that they're going to be
like
put
100 feet. Yes.
as far away as possible from the residents.
So typically where you have the entrance doors, that's where the offices will be. So these areas are where the places where they're working. So these units will be really more to the interior of the site and to this edge of the building. So yes, they will be placed that way.
Again, my concern is just try to get it
Sure.
as far away, and the vacuum system's in the building, that's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call my last witness of the evening, Mr. Alex Doherty of Doherty Planning and Development, to provide us with some planning testimony and justification for the requested variance relief this evening. Thank you.
If you just state your name and address for the record, please, and then we'll have you sworn in.
Alexander Dougherty, Dougherty Planning and Development, 53 Main Street, Chatham, here on behalf of John McDonough, McDonough Associates at 101 Gibraltar Avenue, Suite 1A.
Ms. Morjesi, if you could swear him in, please.
Please raise your right hand. In this matter pending before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the City of Clifton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dougherty, could you please provide the board with the benefit of your background, education, and experience?
Certainly. My education is at Rutgers Blaustein, Master's in City and Regional Planning with a concentration in Development and Redevelopment and Certification in Public Policy. I testify in this capacity on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. I believe I have testified in front of this board before, probably closer to 100 last year.
Okay, we'll accept your qualifications.
License are good and current, yes.
Thank you. And in review and preparation for your testimony this evening, have you reviewed the zoning ordinance?
Yes, I have.
And have you reviewed the master plan,
Yes.
the municipal land use law,
Correct.
and as well as the application that was submitted?
Yes. I would like to just state, even though I have my own LLC, I work closely with John McDonough. I've been working with him for close to about 10 years.
Thank you. So could you please review for the board the variances that we're seeking with respect to this application?
Certainly. If it pleases the board, I do have a 2-page exhibit, just photos from drone shots for site orientation as we talk about some of the variances we need.
So maybe we mark that A3?
Yes, please, thank you.
They relate directly with relation to the residential conditions.
Some errors on the setbacks on the planner's report. Planning testimony.
Just these two.
Yes. That's what it's on the set. I don't know if that's from Nick Graviano's letter.
Okay. Thank you.
So to kind of go over why we're here, not to go too much into repetitive, the first page really just shows the site from an aerial drone perspective. These were taken January 17th. It's pretty much a live action shot, real time here. As we can see in the yellow, where the proposed addition would be, as we indicated on several of the engineering and architectural plans. What's important to note, though, is the large void here, kind of looking directly into the back of the site. We can kind of see the railroad track here up to the left, and again, the residential development across from the railroad. What I like to point out is that bright white privacy fence in that residential development. We do have adequate separation here with the approximately 60-foot space from the railroad. And then again, this building, again, painted green. I think a nice spring, summer day really softens that visual impairment from that residential development, would help to kind of enclose this site and the visual impairment that one may see currently today looking into the site with that new building addition. Site 2 is just another perspective on that, kind of spinning the drone around. Again, proposed addition indicated in yellow, and I think this is a clearer shot from the residential perspective with that railroad. Again, with the orientation of the buildings, as you can see in that bottom right corner, they're really not facing the site directly, but nonetheless, again, indicating the building being painted green, I think would really help soften that visual impairment, if at all, from that residential development. Again, adding a nice building, a massing there to help soften the looking in on that site. So with that, that's really the exhibits here. It kind of directly relates to why we're here. We are at 790 Bloomfield Ave. We have 8 tax lots on block 56.07, lots 15, 15.01 through 15.06, and 23.01, about 5.5 acre site here. Now, with that being said, I think when we look at the site, the first slide on the exhibits, our surrounding uses are predominantly industrial in nature here. But nonetheless, we are in the N2 General Industrial District. We are here for D1 use relief and some D3 conditional. Again, the proximity, the parking to that residential component. Nonetheless, I do want to point out the D1 use variance relates to a residential component in the property that's been existing since approximately the 1950s. Nonetheless, D1, D2, but I think a D1 is a harder criteria to hit, and we get this on the record that there is a lodge there. It's a oversized studio, if you will. It has a bedroom and one room off of that, which is your kitchen and living room. And it's the groundskeeper. He watches the property. It's a very big site. It's industrial. And you know, he's been there for quite some time. From my understanding, he's a retired Marine, and he's in the 80s. And this has been a condition on the site for quite some time. Nonetheless, when we talk about the D1 use relief, we have to satisfy the Medici test. We'll go through some of the positives here. I believe the building will serve as a buffer to blocking the neighbor's exposed view to the site that currently is there now. A new warehouse will improve the overall site operations and an enclosed and open space and an area on the site. Again, this is open space. With this building, we have cleaner rain runoff. We have the opportunity to increase our solar. The building will be sprinkled. So with that being said, the positive also, this is a reinvestment into the site. It's an established industrial park in the community. The development as a whole supports the commerce and economic development and stable rateable base. Again, this whole addition is really for an existing tenant, not a new tenant. You know, the tenant is looking to be more efficient with some high-power milling machinery for his profession as designing, I guess, log cabins, if you will. So this is not necessarily adding employees in that regard, is to become more efficient and competitive in the market space. With that being said, I know we have some parking relief. The parking demand, we believe we meet the actual demand here. Again, we're not adding new tenants. We're not necessarily growing the business in the form of you know, boots on the ground and more labor. This is a machinery space. With that being said, I know we talked about the EV charging station. From my practice and my understanding, I don't think the EV charging stations would be applicable here with an addition to an existing development. It's more related to new development, and that's my take from my perspective and what my experience in the field is. If the Woodbridge Mall was getting an addition, would they make Woodbridge put in all these EV parking spaces? So I think it's more applicable to new development. With that being said, we'll move forward with some of the municipal land use law. I believe this application serves purpose A, G, I, and M. Most importantly, I, for a better visual environment with enclosing that open space, that unsightly condition, buildings being green, more efficient use of land. We'll go to the negative criteria here. I believe the relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public or impairment to the zone. Again, we have that residential component here. It's a longstanding condition. I think that residential component here is really for the safeguarding of the property, the tenants, as well as the overall community. He is a groundskeeper. He keeps the site safe at night, and he, maintains it going forward. I believe the project will not change any aspects of the residential use or alter the living improvements. My understanding, the way it is there is the way it's staying. We are not adding another studio apartment. We're not touching that studio apartment. I believe that's in a separate building, Building H, I believe it is in. The project as a whole improves the site integration, and again, we have adequate separation with the residential neighborhood, and we are not marketing this as an apartment for rent. Again, this is interrelated to the property as a whole, the 5.5 acres. We do have some D3 conditional relief. This relief is satisfied under what we call the Coventry test. With that being said, this test is a little bit more relaxed than the Majisi test. All of the positive benefits would, as I cited before, would carry forward. Now, with that being said, the focus here is on the legislative intent of the conditions. We do have some conditions here related to the separation of that residential component. With that being said, we have rear yard setbacks and side yard setbacks. I think we have adequate separation with the 60-foot buffer of that railroad. Our side yard setback, we are at 0 versus the 15, and we have a rear yard setback of 2.28 versus the 15. Again, I think the substantial detriment here is mitigated by that separation of that rear yard, and with that side yard setback as well. We have the building painted green. I don't think it's going to be intrusive. It's not on top of the residence. So kind of concluding on this, the negative criteria here for the conditional use, I believe the intent, as I stated, is to maintain separation, adequate light, air, and open space, and I think we still achieve that here with the deficiencies. This is simply filling a void on the site that's now currently a paved surface. The building is in a location, this location I think is a better zoning alternative, really, for impairment from that residential to kind of additional screen and shield that. Now we have some parking supply and parking stall length. Again, we are not increasing our demand on parking by adding a new tenant or growing the business from employment standpoint. We have adequate parking that meets the demand here, and as we heard, the way the site has currently existed with flow, that's a circulation patterns. We are keeping that same exact pattern here. I'll kind of conclude on this. The project is a small infill improvement on an established industrial site. The project will improve the site's integration with the surrounding uses with minimal, if any, impact, and the statutory criteria for relief would have been met and approval would be warranted.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, Mr. Graviano, any comments?
Very thorough planning testimony. Have no comments on the testimony itself. I would say if the board is inclined to approve this application, I personally don't see any major issues with it. I would say a condition of the approval should be that the applicant's architect work with my office on something a little bit more than just a green wall.
Okay. I think the only reason I think that he made the comment is that he's trying to blend the whole building with the other building and make it green. I think that was his comment.
And I agree with that. However, that section of the railroad track, there is not vegetation. So maybe there's a way to camouflage this building a little bit more through paint and color techniques. I'm not asking for anything beyond that. I just want to try to get a little bit creative with that to give it more than just a green.
So maybe he can work with you on that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that being a condition.
If they wouldn't have an issue with that.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Would you like to make a closing statement?
Yes. Thank you. Just like to thank the board and its professionals this evening for allowing us to present our application. As has been mentioned, we're seeking to make an addition and improvement to the efficiency of the existing site, an industrial and warehouse site that has been in operation for over 70 years and has shown that it is functioning appropriately and properly. The purpose of this addition is to allow the site and its current and future users to better be able to grow and expand with the new technology that we're seeing with growth of larger machinery and the like, but the site still can accommodate and function. So here we have a conditional use, and the legislative intent is that it is a permitted use, but for meeting these conditions. And the one condition that we really don't meet here is the proximity to a residential neighborhood. This is an existing condition that has existed for, over 70 years. And I think that through the testimony of each of our professionals this evening, we've shown that it's actually even a better situation than currently exists, because you're sort of buffering the residential neighbors further from the existing site operations with the truck turning movements and loading and unloading by creating a screening and an additional buffer. There's not going to be any impact to the neighborhood, the surrounding area, or the zone plan, and it perfectly fits in with the existing surrounding commercial, industrial, warehouse component that's there. So with this, I would like to thank you again for your time this evening and hope for a favorable vote. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no other further questions from the board. The pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Molnar.
as was stated, I believe this addition will help buffer truck traffic from the neighbors across the tracks. The architect said they'll work on trying to keep the units as far as possible away from the residents. I would like to make a motion to approve this, also with them working with Mr. Graviano's office as some type of a scheme on the exterior of the building. I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
And can we add on to that the recommendations of the Negley report?
And yes.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
and the Negley report, following the Negley report.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Molnar. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Soshan. Roll call, Ms. Morjesi.
This is a motion to approve the application at hand with the noted stipulations that work with Mr. Graviano's office on the exterior of the building, as well as following this, modifications included in the Neglia report. Commissioner Silva.
Yes to approve.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Shoshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas.
It's a well-operated, well-organized, clean and quiet existing property. It's only going to be better, so I vote yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zucchino.
Yes.
With 7 affirmative votes, the motion carries and the application is granted.
Thank you
Good luck.
very much.
Okay, the board will move on to resolutions. Have a good evening. Application of Douglas and Lisa Smith, 133 Persian Road, granting a variance for a second floor addition.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved by Commissioner Fukas,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Silva. Roll call, Ms. Morjesi.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas.
Yes.
Chairman Zucchino.
Yes.
Apologize. The resolution is adopted.
Application of Clifton Adult Opportunity Center, 900 Clifton Avenue, granted amended site plan.
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gurkoff,
Yours.
seconded
Yes.
by Commissioner Silva. Roll call, Ms. Morjesi.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas. Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zucchino.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Mikhail Kryzlowski, 632 Bloomfield Avenue, granted variances to construct a one-story addition.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
So moved by Commissioner Fukas,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Silva. Roll call, Ms. Morjesi.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas. Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zucchino.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Well, Avda Salam, 67 Donna Drive, granted a variance for a rear yard setback due to an already built deck.
So moved.
So moved by Vice Chairman Scorziello,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Silva. Roll call, Ms. Morjesi.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas. Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zakino.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Application of Daniel and Rachel Bezer, 126 Allwood Place, granted a variance for a rear yard to increase the size of an existing deck.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner
Second.
Soshan, seconded by Vice Chairman Scorziello. Roll call, Ms. Morgese.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas. Commissioner Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zakino.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Application Mistiva of Clifton, Inc., 294 Main Avenue, granted relief for any variances, approval, and waiver and exemption applicable provisions necessary for approval. Application to demolish 3 existing buildings and replace these buildings with 1 2-story building consisting of classrooms, school facilities, and expand the existing school dormitory and consolidate all the lots.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Gurkoff.
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Scorziello. Roll call, Ms. Morgese.
Commissioner Gurkoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Soshan.
Yes.
Commissioner Molnar.
Yes.
Commissioner Fukas.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scorziello.
Yes.
Chairman Zakino.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
My motion, accept the minutes of last meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Soshan.
Motion to adjourn?
I need a second first.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Silva. A motion to adjourn
Second.
by Commissioner Fukas, second by Commissioner Soshan. Have a good evening.